Welcome once again to Mr. Landon's classroom, where today's lesson is the area of a circle. The objectives of today's lesson are, number one, to compute the area of a circle given the radius, diameter, or circumference, and number two, to apply this calculation to a real-world application. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's get started. In order to calculate the area of a circle, and I am not the world's best artist, but let's make believe that that's actually a circle. What we want to determine is how many square inches would there be inside that circle. If this is a square inch, how many total square inches can we fit in there? Well, it's easy to imagine that we can't figure this out as easily as we could for, say, a rectangle or a triangle or any other drawing with straight sides, because as you can see, we have partials here. And when we add up all those partials and all the whole ones, we're going to come up with the total number of square inches. There's got to be an easier way, and of course there is. We're going to do it using a mathematical formula, and the formula that we're going to use is the area is equal to pi times the radius squared. And in a circle, the radius is defined as how long it is from the center to the outside of the circle. That then is the radius. It should be the same in every direction since you're measuring it from the center of the circuit. Okay? So area is equal to pi times the radius squared. So if we know what the radius is, all we have to do is multiply it times itself and then multiply that product times pi, and we're going to write up here that pi is equal to 3.14. That's the number that we're going to use for our calculations. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's say that we're going to start out with a circle, and the circle that we start out with has a radius of 6 inches. So it's 6 inches from the center of the circle all the way to the outside. The calculation will go as follows. The area of that circle is going to be equal to pi times the radius squared, which is going to be equal to pi times 6 inches squared, and that's going to be equal to pi times 36, because 6 times 6 is 36. So my area is going to be equal to pi times 36 square inches. So let's go ahead and figure that out on the calculator. 36 times, I know there's a pi in here somewhere. I don't know where it is, so I'm just going to use 3.14, and that is going to give me 113.04 square inches. Okay, over here, let's do another example. In this case, the radius is going to be 10 millimeters. Okay, area is equal to pi times the radius squared. In this case, that will be equal to pi times 10 millimeters squared. So we'll go over here and we'll put in 0.01 for 10 milli. We'll square that. There should be an x squared button on here somewhere. That gives us 100 micro, and we'll multiply that times 3.14. And that's going to give us 3.14 times 10 to the minus 6 square millimeters. Okay, so there we go. We now have an area in a metric, and we've computed an area in standard. In each case, we use the radius to determine the area by multiplying it by itself and then multiplying that result by pi, which is equal to 3.14. The question then becomes, what happens if you don't know what the radius is? As we learned in lesson 12, there is not just the radius that we can be concerned with, but we also have something called a diameter that goes all the way across the circle, and then we have the circumference, which is the distance around the circle. Okay, so depending on which one of these we know, the formula is going to be a little bit different. But the easiest thing that we can do is express the radius in terms of the diameter. And in this case, the radius is equal to the diameter divided by 2. And we can also say that the radius is equal to 1/2 of the diameter, which was what we said. And the diameter is also equal to the circumference divided by pi. And these stem from the formulas that say circumference is equal to pi times the diameter, and the diameter is equal to the radius times 2. And again, this is from lesson number 12. Okay, so if you need to review that, the parts of a circle, feel free to go back and have a look at lesson number 12 where that information is covered. In this situation, if we know what the diameter is, we can simply divide it by 2, and that gives us our radius. Or if we know what the circumference is, we can divide the circumference by pi to get the diameter, take half of that, and that gives us the radius. And then either one of these can be plugged into the equation. Area is equal to pi times the radius squared. The units here will be the same units that are used in the circle. So if this is inches, then this will be square inches. If this is feet, it will be square feet. If this is meters, it would be square meters. That's the way we represent area in square meters, square feet, or square units of length. So if you do not have the radius, if you have the diameter, or you have the circumference, fear not, because you can just do one extra step and solve that problem still the same way. Okay? None of this really means anything if we're not prepared to use it. So let's figure out how we can use what we've learned. And we're going to use this to help a couple of college kids out. There's a couple of college kids that want to order a pizza from Sal's Pizza Shop. Sal's Pizza sells a medium pizza for $12.99 and a large pizza, which is 18 inches, for $16.99. And what we want to figure out is which one represents the better cost per square inch of pizza. So we need to calculate the area of the pizza, and then we need to apply what we learned way back in lesson number 4 to how to determine unit costs. So let's jot that down. Lesson 4 in unit cost. And then you'll see that if you need to review that, that information is right there for you. But here we are. Let's jot down our prices. This one is $12.99, and our 18-inch is $16.99. Those are the prices. So let's figure out, first of all, what the area of each pizza is. And then we'll take the dollar amount and figure that into the area, and from that we can determine the cost per square inch. So for the first pizza here on the left, the radius is 7 inches because the diameter is 14, so the area is going to be pi times 7 squared, or 49 pi. 49 pi. And 49 pi in this case will be 49 times 3.14, and that's going to give us 153.86 square inches of pizza. So for a 14-inch pizza, 153.86 square inches. For an 18-inch pizza, well, in this case, the radius is going to be 9. So our area is going to be pi times 9 squared, or pi times 81. Let's figure out what pi times 81 is. 81 times 3.14 is 254.34 square inches of pizza for our 18-inch pizza. Okay, so now we've got the two respective areas for our pizzas. Let's go ahead and figure out what the cost per square inch is. And the fact that we wrote it this way means that what we're really trying to find is the cost divided by square inch. That's what per means when we talked about percent way back in lesson number 6 or so. It was percent per 100. 100 went on the denominator. In this case, it's per square inch. So for both of these, what we're going to do is we're going to take the cost, which in this case is $12.99, and we're going to divide that cost by the number of square inches. So $12.99 divided by 153.86 gives us a price of 0.84. I'm sorry, 0.084 per square inch. And that, of course, is dollars since we represent it in dollars. So it looks like 8.4 cents per square inch. Okay, that's what our unit cost is for this pizza. So 8.4 cents per square inch. This one over here, let's do this one as well. We have $16.99. So we will go ahead and we will take the cost, $16.99, and we will divide that by 254.34 square inches, and we come up with 0.066 dollars per square inch. Okay, which means in this case that would be 6.6 cents per square inch. This pizza at 6.6 cents per square inch is less expensive than this pizza is at 8.4 cents per square inch. So 6.6 cents per square inch versus 8.4 cents per square inch. So we were able to use the notion of calculating the area of a circle along with some other previously covered material to determine which of the two pizzas represents a value. And that is as it should be, because normally when we pay a larger amount for something larger, we get it at a better rate. And this is true. In this case, 6.6 versus 8.4 cents per square inch. So let's summarize. This is what we've done today. We've calculated the area of a circle, and we've determined that the area of the circle is represented by pi times the radius squared, and of course the radius is half a trip across the circle. If we were given diameter or circumference, we could substitute and determine what the area is by calculating what the radius is given a particular diameter or circumference. Next steps, things that we might do in the future to keep in mind, determining the area of a circle. That's going to be the first step in lesson 25 when you get around to determining the volume of a cylinder. Very similar calculation, and you'll see that in lesson 25. And also, as I said before, if you need to review the material that we did when we determined the unit costing, we did that way back in lesson number 12. So you might want to review that if this was a challenge for you. Thank you very much for visiting Mr. Landon's classroom. This has been Mr. Landon's classroom, lesson 16, area of a circle. We'll see you for lesson 17. Thank you.